right, back now to break some college football. Just finished up the EPL video just a bit ago. I'm going to hold on for just a bit, see if we can get some people on here before I start breaking down the slate. So we got about an hour until lock. Fun slate today. A lot of good games that we can target. Some that we're just going to X off, but that's kind of like that every week in my eyes. Let's see here. So I've been trying to see if you guys like game by game or position by position. I think I know we've been doing game by game. I'm going to go through position by position today and kind of talk about that. Then I'll talk about stacks and some of my favorite game stacks, but not going to go game by game today. You all can check that out on the sheet if you want. On the matchups tab, check out all the totals, all the spread, and then go in game by game. But we're going to look at the position tabs. I'm going to share my screen over to our college football sheet for the main slate. We also have one up for the night slate tonight, so be sure to check that out. I've got, as you can see, there is the matchups tab. Has every game spread, projected points, and the totals. And then we also have the passing and rushing offense and defense ranks for each game there as well. So be sure to check that out. I'm going to go right into the position tabs. If you all have any questions, drop them in the comments. As I mentioned on the EPL video, I'm on the road again today, but I'll be around up until lock and even through the afternoon if we need to late swap or anything like that. So be sure to get in the Discord chat. If you've not joined us over at Patreon, do so at $10 a month. If you just want to look at college football, it's $10 a month. If you want all sports, it is $20 a month. So we're covering tons of sports right now. Be sure to check that out. Get your cheat sheet, get some chat in the Discord with not just us, but everybody that's in a member of the community. So be sure to check that out. If you have not tried Prize Picks, we have a promo code Jager, 100% match bonus up to $100. They have some college football. Unfortunately, in Virginia, I'm not able to play Prize Picks. I can see and maybe get in the chat later and see if there's any options that I do like. I can still look at them. Also, our last thing I'll plug here is Fanshare Sports. We have a promo code with them. It's also Jager. 20% off your subscription there. Be sure to check them out. They have an NFL and PGA optimizer ownership projections. Very in-depth tools that they have there, so be sure to check them out as well. Hopping right into the sheet, we've got the quarterbacks first. The top price guys, again, are going to be my favorites, but we do have some value plays this week. If you do want to jam this game, this Wake Forest, North Carolina game, you can definitely do it. Sam times 2. We're going to go Sam Hartman, Sam H times 2. Sam Hartman, Sam Howe going up against each other here. Let me swap back and look at the total here. 3-point favorite for North Carolina, 76.5 total, biggest total on the slate. Definitely going to be my favorite game to target overall. So obviously Sam Hartman and Howe are going to be the two of my favorite plays. They each have 6 rushing touchdowns on the year. Howe does a little bit more running than Hartman does, but these are both very good quarterbacks and plays and good offenses. Moving on down a little lower, about 1,000 cheaper, we get the range of Malik Willis, Tanner Mordecai, Desmond Ritter, CJ Stroud. All those are kind of GPP options for me today. As a pivot off of Howe or Hartman, I think I can easily find $1,000 if I need to. I mean, that's kind of the difference, the way I look at it, as you're either going to need a 4,500 receiver or you're going to need a 3,500 receiver. There's not much difference in those in my eyes. So I think I can definitely get up to Howe and Hartman, but these are very good plays as well as pivots. So SMU Memphis is a 70.5 total, as you can see there. SMU's favored. I like their passing game more than their rushing attack. Desmond Ritter, they're in a bounce back spot here. DFS wise, 22.5-point favorite, 56 total. So I really do think that he could have a big game today. Still not running a ton this year, as you can see. And then Stroud, who's going to be without Garrett Wilson. I know there was more injuries, it looked like, but no big names on the offensive side else for OSU. They're 14-point favorites in a 67.5 total. I mean, they're projected for more points here than Wake or UNC. 40.8 points they're projected for here. So 8,600 for Stroud, and he's really improved as the season has went on. Doesn't have the rushing upside, so you're going to need to pair him with probably two receivers. And who is that? We'll get to him in a minute, but Chris Olave and Jackson Smith-Njigba are both going to be very good plays who are going to get a bump today with no Garrett Wilson. So I really like those options. I need to check and see the news about who is starting in Garrett Wilson's spot. Maybe we can get some value there that I didn't have on my radar coming in here. So I'll be sure to check that out. Morning, Mike. I know you posted that a bit ago, but just seeing that. So morning to you. Moving on down, we get some interesting value, I'll call them, quarterbacks here. Gary Bohannon is a guy that I would consider at 7,700 in GPPs. And then moving on down toward the value range, Adrian Martinez going up against Ohio State. They're projected for almost 4 touchdowns here in this game. He has rushing upside, 11 rushing touchdowns on the year, 438 yards on the ground. He can get it done. You don't have to pair him with a receiver. So Adrian Martinez is a nice option there for Nebraska. Sean Clifford against Maryland, a very good matchup for him today. If you go over and look, 83rd against the pass for Maryland. Very good matchup today for him. 6,000 is a very good price as well. You can pair him up with Jahan Dotson for sure. I think that's an interesting pairing for a cheaper price. Adrian O'Connell is kind of the last guy I'll mention down here at the bottom for Purdue. 5,600, can get it done through the air with David Bell. Not that Adrian O'Connell is good, but he's got David Bell. I'm still looking for some news on Payne Durham, the tight end. Early in the week, I thought he was going to be out. I'm not 100% sure if that's the case, so I need to do some more checking on that as well. But Aidan O'Connell is a fine GPP value quarterback option at 5,600. That's kind of where I'm at. If you all have any questions, I need to highlight Malik Willis as a GPP pivot today in that Mississippi Liberty game. I mean, that's a 66.5 total. Liberty, listen, they slow it down quite a bit against Ole Miss, who can score at will on most anybody except Alabama, apparently. It's a tough one. I mean, I think you got to like the Liberty side a little more than even the Ole Miss side. And Malik Willis can definitely get it done, as you can see on the ground. 684.9 for Malik Willis on the year rushing. So I think he's an interesting GPP option. So that's kind of where I'm at. Like most all of the upper price guys in some form, definitely prefer the shootout game there of Wake and UNC. I see that blowing up today. So I'm definitely going to have pieces of that in a single entry type build for sure, is where I'm looking at going. But you can mix and match any of these other guys I mentioned. I'm going to check the chat, see if there's any questions. If there are, like I said, drop them in there. I'll get to them before I get off the show. Running back position. This is like some of these mid-range options quite a bit today. Kenneth Walker, priced at 8,600, is not a mid-range option. But listen, this guy gets tons of work. Blew up Michigan last week unexpectedly. Obviously I expected him to get the workload, but didn't expect him to do what he did touchdown-wise against a tough Michigan defense. He now gets Purdue, who ranks 81st against the run on the year, so I think you can definitely go right back to him. I don't see him ever having was it 4 or 5 touchdowns last week, something crazy. I don't see him obviously doing that again, but he can get it done for sure. Jerome Ford, I mentioned Ritter in the quarterback spot for Cincinnati. I think he's a fine option, but I do like other guys more than Jerome Ford today. Trayvon Henderson is 7,900. He's in play. Maybe without Garrett Wilson in the passing game, they get Trayvon involved even more than he already is, but he would have been a good play no matter who was in or out. Obviously has the big playability in the passing game as well. Looks like getting some news. Matt Corral, who was questionable, is dressed in pregame warmups. Moving on down, we've got Abram Smith, who has emerged in the Baylor backfield. I think he's a very good option today against TCU, who cannot stop a soul rushing the ball. You've got 116th against the run, and Baylor, who is 8th in rushing in the country, one of the bigger mismatches of the week. So Abram Smith is definitely the core first guy in the running back position for me today for Baylor. And then you move down. I like this combo of Ty Chandler for North Carolina in the game that we expect to just completely blow up, and then Jaylen Warren for Oklahoma State, who is going to continue to get work. 175 carries on the year. Definitely like him today as well in this mid-range. So I think you can go to either one of those. I would prefer Ty Chandler against a Wake defense who, again, almost similar to TCU, cannot stop a soul rushing the ball. So that's why, again, that I expect a big day from Sam Howell rushing, as well as Ty Chandler on the ground as well. Marquis Irving is one of the Minnesota running backs. They've had tons of injuries on the year, and Kai Thomas is the other one for Minnesota. They get a fine matchup today against a 79th ranked Illinois run defense. I expect that to be a split between those two, and I think I do prefer Kai Thomas because the price at 5,000. But both are fine GPP options for me against this Illinois defense today. And Minnesota, listen, they got a good offensive line. We've seen just these different running backs step in and have success. So I do like Kai Thomas and Marquis Irving today as well. The other guy I will mention down here, there's two actually. One is Tristan Ebner. Again, we went through this TCU run defense, and in college football, it makes a little more sense to play two running backs in the same backfield sometimes. So Tristan Ebner, who's going to get a split of work at 4,100, I think you can definitely play him with Abram Smith if you wanted to. So 4,100 is a fine price. And then kind of a similar situation with Ty Chandler is DJ Jones at 3,400, who's going to get a split against a horrid Wake run defense. So I really do like those as kind of a mix and match as the number two backs in a good, very, very good matchup. All right, so that's kind of where I'm at in the running back pool. Let's move over to wide receiver, and we've got the top guys here are, again, the ones that I like as far as priorities for me today. Josh Downs and Jaquir Roberson are definitely 1-2 in this blow up spot. I mean, I don't know how popular. I expect them to be popular, but the question becomes how many of them can you fit? Like I said, I like some of these values, both the two that I just went over in the running backs, and then there's some I'll get to down in the receiver position that I think you can match in there with these expensive stacks today. Jahan Dotson and David Bell, I mentioned both their quarterbacks as value plays. Jahan Dotson gets unreal volume, just like David Bell. So kind of similar plays, honestly, for me there. Kind of a toss-up as to who you would prioritize of those two behind Downs and Roberson. Probably David Bell for me. against Michigan State. I mean, he just gets tons of work. I think you can attack this Michigan State pass defense as well. If you look at and I didn't mention this with Aidan O'Connell, but they are 127th. Michigan State is against the pass. And with the volume that Purdue throws it, they're 16th in the country throwing the football this year. So you definitely have to consider David Bell here at 7,400 just because of the volume in the matchup. Moving on, A.T. Perry, I think you can pair him with Sam Hartman in GPPs, but obviously prefer Roberson over him. Chris Olave got a bump with no Garrett Wilson. 6,900 is a very good price for Chris Olave. I mean, we're used to seeing him a little higher. I mean, early in the year, Garrett Wilson was priced below Chris Olave, and now he is out. So we're getting some definite nice pricing for the situation for Chris Olave here in a good matchup against Nebraska. Tay Martin for GPPs is fine. Jaden Reed, I've not seen any news on Jalen Naylor, but he looked to be hurt. I'm still not seeing anything on Jalen Naylor. Let me just search Twitter here, make sure I'm not missing something. But I was seeing Naylor as questionable. That would give a nice bump to Jaden Reed. Let's see. Yeah, still not seeing any news. Yeah, no updates yet on Naylor. But if he is out, Jaden Reed becomes a very good option. It's kind of the main pass-catching guy for Michigan State. This range in between Naylor and Reed is kind of GPP territory for me. Alec Pierce, pair him up. He's the number one guy for Cincy. You can pair him up with Ritter. Danny Gray, I mentioned that game as a 70.5 total. He's kind of the big play guy for SMU. You can go there, whether it's stacking or not. Tyquan Thornton, if you want to go the passing game for Baylor, I think you can definitely go there. Quentin Johnson, very, very fringy for me today. He's kind of been on and off the TCU number one guy. And I do need to mention for TCU, there's some news that I'm watching with Max Duggan. There's some potential that he would sit and they would play Chandler Morris, who's 4,500 min price. 4,500 for Chandler Morris. Let me see. I'm getting a question in the chat. All right. That would be an interesting play, to say the least. I don't necessarily know that you got to pair him with it. That's kind of a fringy GPP option for me today. So then you move down to the upper 5K range. There's three that I really do like. Michael Mayer looks to be back healthy for Notre Dame. 5,800, you can go there. Jackson Smith and Jigba mentioned, obviously, with Garrett Wilson out, he gets a bump. The slot guy for OSU, you can obviously him and Olave pair those together with Stroud. Anais Smith, 5,600. We know he's got upside for sure, so you can go there as well. Roberson and Rashee Rice, I mean, GPP plays, sure, for SMU. Moving down more into the mid-range, Josh Johnson would be the only guy I would even consider for Tulsa, but not enthused at all about playing Tulsa. Jalen Werdemeyer for Texas A&M, you can go there in GPPs. Winston Wright has looked to come on a little more the last few weeks for West Virginia. You can go there for sure. Still waiting on confirmation that Payne Durham is out. And then the value plays. Like I said, there's quite a few guys down here that we can get a piece of so that we can jam in some of these top-priced stacks. And it starts with Antoine Greene for North Carolina in a very, very good matchup with Wake Forest, as I've mentioned. Really, him and Josh Downs are the only two that I really like for North Carolina in the passing game. Sean Dykes, the tight end for Memphis, fine play as well. Casey Kelly, kind of a very similar play to Sean Dykes in a passing offense there with Ole Miss. Jackson Anthrop, I feel like even though he's not a tight end, that with Payne Durham, their number 2 target, was out, that he would get a little bit of a bump. So you can go to him too at 4,300. More of a possession type guy, so they might get him a little more involved. Grant Calcaterra, the SMU transfer, the Oklahoma transfer to SMU, has got more and more involved as the years went on. He's 4,000. You can go there as well. And then moving down into this 3K range, you've got Trey Mosley for Michigan State. I think he's a fine play, especially if Naylor is out. That would give him a nice bump. And then also along those similar lines with Naylor is Montori Foster at 3K. You can definitely get some value there. So there's, like I said, value at the running back position. There's value at the receiving position. You can get the Wug. What's up, Scott? Good luck today. So like I said, you can get value plays. I'm going to switch over. Let's see here if I can get. I want to play with some bills here. Having trouble. All right. Maybe. I might get there in a minute. I want to play around with some builds for you all here. Man, I'm having trouble where I'm sitting today. Seeing. Okay. Anyway, so if you plug in Hartman and Sam Howell at the quarter, well, that was Kenneth Walker, not Sam Howell. So if you plug both of these guys in, and my computer is running very slow for some reason. And then Abram Smith, again, was a guy that I said was kind of a core number 1 running back in for me today. Ty Chandler is another guy that I want to fit in. But I don't know if who we're going to prioritize first. Is it going to be that second running back? Where are we going for value? I think you got to. I don't know that we can play Downs and Roberson together with the 2 quarterbacks. Now, if you were fading one of the quarterbacks and going cheaper, you could definitely play both of them. Let's see here. Because if you play both with Smith and the 2 quarterbacks, it's impossible. So which one do we want to target? It's kind of a toss-up with Roberson and Josh Downs. If you look at Josh Downs, it looks like Jonathan Mingo for Ole Miss is still going to be out today. Drummond is also out today. If you just look at these, I know this is not targets, but if you look at the receptions from week to week for Josh Downs, 8, 8, 9, 11, 10, he's probably going at the 15 target range. I'd have to look on Pro Football Focus. And then Roberson has kind of been kind of similar in these shootout games that they've got into when they've put up near 40 points every single week, but 6, 9, 8, 4. So he's probably a more of a GPP upside guy compared to Downs, who you could play in any format because of the amount of targets. Let's see here. Not saying you can't play Roberson in cash. Let's see. So if we plug in Downs, you can kind of look at it 2 ways. You can go the rushing attack for North Carolina and play Hartman and Roberson and then go Ty Chandler. I think that makes sense. And you have, well, hold on. All right. What I'm saying is you can go Hartman and Roberson and then go the running game with Howell and Chandler and then go the cheaper route at the Carolina receiver and go Antoine Greene. And then, let's see. You're going to have to come down off of Abram Smith if you do that. All right. So I think that's kind of the route you're going to have to go. You're going to have to take, maybe if you don't play Abram Smith in this double stack lineup, that you're going to be able to come down to the number 2, Ebner, or just play that number 2 back for North Carolina. 4,600 left. You can make do with that. Not really where I want to be. So kind of playing around with builds. I think, let's see, I've seen very few mention Horvath as a potential value play. Any love? Not for me today. If you look at Purdue, they have a much better, and I'm having trouble seeing, I'm sorry. Much better passing matchup, and they throw it almost 60% of the time. Let me pull up Horvath here. 3,900. I can't get behind it today. I like the other 2 value running backs more, Ebner and DJ Jones. All right. So the way I'm leaning, and again, the reason I like playing around with these builds while I'm on the show is because I don't build that many lineups before I pop on here. I like to do it as I'm talking it through with you all. We got about 30 minutes till lock. I'm probably not going to end up playing both the Wake and North Carolina quarterbacks, Hal and Hartman. I'm not going to play both in the same lineup. It just limits me too much, I think. So then it becomes, do I want to go down to Aidan O'Connell? Do I want to play Sean Clifford? Do I want to play Adrian Martinez? Do I want to try to get in this mid-range with Stroud? Where do I want to go? I'm thinking that in my head right now. So Clifford, if I had to rank these, you're going to probably look for let's play around with O'Connell. Throw O'Connell in, leave Hartman or Hal, whatever stack you want to go to there. You could still play Greene. We're going to go back and we're going to get Abram Smith. And then we're going to play David Bell for sure. That leaves us 3,700 for 2 spots. So we can go get the North Carolina running back Jones as the cheap one. And then you've got 4,000 in the flex for whoever you need. And I mentioned quite a few people there at 4,000 or below, a few anyway, for Michigan State. And that would work perfect as a run back there with those Michigan State guys running back with O'Connell and David Bell. So that's kind of the route that I'm leaning toward right now. That could change. The second quarterback could definitely change. First, so the core for me today, if you want to go Wake Forest or North Carolina quarterback, Hartman or Hal, which one do you want to go to? Whichever one of those you play, you're playing Roberson or you're playing Downs in a pairing with them in this core. Abram Smith is for sure in the core. Is kind of where I'm looking today. David Bell, again, is a very solid option, but if you don't play O'Connell, you don't necessarily have to play Bell. You could do the Dotson pairing with Sean Clifford. So that's kind of the 2 ways that I'm looking. I'll let you choose what way you go. Do you go Hartman or Howe? Do you go Clifford or O'Connell? And who do you pair each of those with? It's your choice there. If you're doing Bell and O'Connell, Dotson and Clifford, Downs and Howe, or Hartman and Roberson. choose 2 of those and be on your way with none other than Abram Smith in the backfield. That's where I'm looking at today. We got 30 minutes to lock. Hit me up in the chat if you have questions. Be sure to check out all of our other sports. We have tons going on between the rest of the day. We got UFC, I believe, later this evening, and then NFL tomorrow. EPL, I think, has a couple games tomorrow. Be sure to check us out. We got tons going on. We got you covered with every sport. Hit me up in the chat if you have any questions. Good luck to everybody today, and we'll see you back for tonight's slate in the chat. Good luck.